Hello, my name is Sheila Mitchell and I am from South Africa. I am a trusted seller, so if you wish to enhance your TBC wallet, you can buy $100 worth of TBC from me. My email address and Facebook address are both in the definitions below this video. First of all, I honestly want to make sincere apologies for what happened on Sunday night. It was a disaster. I first of all, I was looking for the start button, and there was no start button. The percentages went round and round in a ring until 99, and then it stopped, and that was it. And I couldn't understand what was going on. Where was the start button? And then, yeah, our internet and Wi-Fi are a little bit uh, on and off. And very often I'm in my messenger page and I suddenly a notice comes up, no internet. And then I wait a few seconds and it says connecting. And then it connects again. So it is, and I thought, well, I wonder if this is what's happened, that I've got no internet. And I hung on a bit and I tried and I tested and it seemed to be all right. Eventually I thought I'd better go and check my modem. I went down there, when unfortunately it's down the passage, not in this room, but in down the passage. So I had to go down there and it seemed all right. But just for safety's sake, I switched it off and then I switched it on, which is what I've normally been told to do if I have any problems. And I came back and everything was still the same. So I decided, well, I'd better just do the broadcast. But I think in my effort of uh, fiddling around to try and see if everything was wrong or not, I must have switched off the sound. And when I replayed it, there was no sound at all. It was looked out. I felt such a fool. I do apologize for it. But what I want to talk to you about tonight is a vision that I have had. I normally go walking in the mornings um, for a walk, sort of trot walk, I walk the up hills and trot the downhill sort of style. And that is a time that I myself, it's usually a beautiful morning. I don't go out when it's raining. Um, and the sun's shining and it's lovely out because I go early in the morning. And that is when I sort of have time to myself and think about things. And my thoughts usually are talk to my Lord and ask for guidance for what I'm doing. And thanks for all that has happened to me. And I don't know if it's the nurse in me that came out or what it is, because I am a trained nurse. I've been uh, all my life, that was my profession. Um, but the idea came to me about um, the children in who are suffering, who are orphans as a result of um, AIDS, their parents having had AIDS. So let me give you a little bit of a background now. First of all, I joined TBC in April 2017 and I watched my wallet grow at a phenomenal rate. It was faster than any other investment could ever grow. Then in September 2017, Admin offered us the most phenomenal promotion to increase our TBC in our wallets. This offer is still standing. And we did have our first opportunity to redeem our cookies in January this year, where I redeemed uh, um, and we've also got an opportunity now this month, while it's on now, to redeem whatever else, where I will be redeeming another 10 TBCs. Now in January, when I redeemed my cookies, I received 11 full TBC in my wallet. And this set me thinking about what I will do with my money. And that coincides with what happened to me when I was going on my walk. Um, and the idea came to me. And because of the circumstance, I do believe it's a task that was given to me by God. Um, just as a little bit of a background of what I've actually, another instance in my life. I was about 6 years old. This was in 1941. And it was in the middle of the Second World War. And all the men, our fathers, were all up north fighting for the Allied forces. My father happened to have been in Egypt and Italy. Um, and there was what they called a bioscope. Today we know it as movies. But in those days it was a bioscope. And it was being held in the town hall with the old-fashioned reels that they do. But this bioscope was about the war, and there was a battle, and soldiers were falling, and they were wounded or dead or so. But there was a nurse. I think she must have been a Red Cross nurse because her veil was tied the way the Red Cross used to tie their veils. I don't know if they still wear veils. But I watched her, and she was going from soldier to soldier who was lying there, and she was helping those that she could and bandaging them up and doing whatever she could and so on and so forth. I was just 6 years old then and very impressionable. And I looked at this and I said, this is what I will do when I grow up. And I never changed my mind. Never ever. My parents, all my relatives, everybody tried to dissuade me from being a nurse when I grew up. Sheila, it's such a hard job. They pay so little. It's not the thing you should go into. You work nothing. Nothing dissuaded me to such an extent that when I sort of reached my high school days and I was at boarding school, I was so determined that I was going to go nursing that 2 years before I completed my schooling, I applied to Schritzke Hospital and I got all my papers and everything filled in and completed, and they sent it to me at my boarding school. And it was only when I went on holidays that I needed a doctor's certificate. So I only then did I go to my parents and say, well, um, I need a doctor's certificate now. I'm going nursing and everything is complete. Well, what could they say? So uh, everything was duly done and I went nursing. And do you know that those 4 years that I was nursing, actually it was a total of 5 after I trained at another year of nursing before I got married. I can honestly say they were the happiest years of my life. When I look back, there was nothing that touched that happiness that I have. And just to give you an idea of how actually my mind was a mind of abundance, because I'd forgotten about it. But my father one day said to me, I've always remembered what you said to me. And apparently, what I said to him, I said, Dad, you know, um, we're not paid very much here, I think, but actually, I'm very wealthy because I love my patients. And every time a patient says, thank you, nurse, to me, it's another 50 pounds in my bank account. To me, that's how it feels. And I think it brought home to my father that I was it didn't matter hard I worked or how little the salary was. To me, that was what I wanted to do. And now I've got another thing that I feel I want to help. Yeah. So this is the story about it. In South Africa has been hit by a very high incidence of HIV and AIDS. It is improving, but as a result, um, it has actually resulted in many children being orphaned as a result of losing their parents to AIDS. In these cases, there may be a grandmother sometimes who will raise those children on her meagre pension. And I mean meagre pension because the pension for an elderly person would be a state pension, and that is about 1,650 Rand per month. Now, that equals about $114 a month. Imagine living on that for a whole month. And can you, the children who are orphaned are each given a state grant of 400 Rand a month. Now, 400 Rand is equal to about $28. So that's what they expected to live on. It's impossible. Now, just imagine that grandmother uh, taking the grants of her grandchildren, adding them to her own pension. And let's say, just for argument's sake, there were four children in the family. They're very seldom that there are less than four in a family. And that would be about $226 a month. Um, Now, if there's no grandmother or grandparent to have the task of the to look after the children. The task of looking after those children will be fall on the eldest of the siblings. In many cases, that child who is the eldest of the siblings is still at school and has to bear the brunt of caring for her or his siblings. And um, it usually ends up with that child leaving school in order to try and raise some money to be able to live because it's impossible to live on uh, uh, $28 a month for one person and have accommodation. But it in usually this child will try and raise money by begging at street corners as and because it's the other thing in South Africa, people are not allowed to give jobs to children under the age of 16. So they can't get a job. The sibling would not get a job unless they are older than 16. And so that's non-existent. So this very often means that they are taken advantage of and drawn into drug or prostitution rings. Worse still, most of them live in shacks, um, tin shacks or whatever they could make the shacks from, and they live in terrible poverty. Now, my vision is once I have put aside enough money for my immediate family, and there's plenty there, let me assure you, or will be plenty of TBC to be able to put aside enough money for my own children. They don't need that much. I um, want to use the remainder of my money to build homes for these children and also put aside enough money for them to live on. I'm quite prepared to wait until we reach our ultimate membership or until we are able to change some of our TBC into fiat money. I'll explain the reason for needing fiat money a little bit later. I think you'll understand what I'm getting at here. It's not that I want my fiat money, when can I get my money? No, I'm quite happy. I believe in TBC, and I do believe that when we've reached our ultimate, we will be able to get a certain amount of fiat money. I Now I do know that years ago the Methodist Church of South Africa had a similar scheme where they had homes for orphans. Now these homes were fully equipped and they were run by what one could call a mother and a father. They were specially appointed, and this mother and father were assigned to each home. I've lost touch of that side of it now, and I actually think these homes were in Cape Town, but I am not 100% sure about that. But my vision is to acquire a large enough piece of ground to build about 4 or 5 homes on that ground. I'm even toying with the idea of perhaps having a semi-detached homes with a little garden in front of each home, or they can be separate homes. This is all going around in my head still. Um, uh, now I think this and then I think that, but there are certain things that I really think they should have. I wanted them all to have facilities that they would get in a normal home, like a home that I grew up in. Um, Now, I want each home should be headed by 2 adults, a mother and a father, and um, with envisage about 4 or 5 children to each home. Um, if possible, all the children should be siblings, and the parents will have to have special training, preferably a husband and wife, obviously, um, would be appointed. Um, and have special training in how to run and work with uh, children that are actually, you could say, adopted. They would have adopted those children. Um, now, each home would then have to have at least 3, preferably 4 bedrooms, so that the parents can have their room with possibly an ensuite bathroom, and then we'd have to have at least 2 bathrooms with showers, one for the girls and one for the boys. And naturally, there would be a lounge, a dining room, and a kitchen, which could be open plan. Um, and they would also need another room, special room, in which to study for the children, to have a big table there with chairs where the children can study and do all their homework. I'll start with one home and then add homes to form a cluster of homes, each with a family in them. Then they can all share the facilities such as playgrounds, etc. This way, I'll be able to get a good idea of the costs involved and so on. Much like TBC um, with admin appointing testers to test, for example, the migration of the new blockchain, so as to be able to iron out all the bumps along the way before migrating everybody. This way, by doing one home at a time, and then one complex at a time, it'll give me a good idea of what is needed financially and what the possibilities are and how we should be running these homes. Um, Now, once I've completed one cluster of homes, I will move on to build another group in another major city until eventually I have a cluster of homes in all the major cities in South Africa. These cities will be, this is for starters, of course, Pretoria, Johannesburg, um, Durban, then either Port Elizabeth or East London. I haven't quite made up my mind. They're quite close together. Um, and then Cape Town and Bloemfontein. So I'd have a total of a minimum of 6 clusters of homes for children. This will give me 6 clusters of homes, each, let's say, each with 5 homes, which would give home to a minimum of 150 children at one time, plus, of course, for the 60 parents that will be there to look after their homes. It must be a proper home like you would have a normal home, parents and their children. And I'm thinking of calling them Sheila's TBC homes. I could call them Sheila's the Billion Coin homes, but I think it'll be better just to call them Sheila's TBC homes. I don't want to say for orphans or anything like that. I'll just keep them at that. There's so much to think about this. They must be within reasonable distance of both a primary and a high school. And if necessary, there should be a school bus that can take them there. But preferably, um, I prefer each group of homes to have its own combi, which would take about 20, which would take 20 children, so the children can be transported to and from school and taken to sports meetings, to hospital if necessary, uh, and uh, wherever they have to go, perhaps. And then while they are at school, parents can use the transport in order to go and out and shop for groceries, meat, fruit and veg that are all necessary for running a home. Um, the homes will all have to be fully furnished, including linen, cutlery, and furniture. Um, then the children must all be fully clothed and their toiletries supplied on a monthly basis, on a regular basis. They will not only need their school uniforms, but they'll need casual clothing to wear at home. Um, there will have to be funds for the adoptive parents to be able to go out and buy all these things that are necessary. And they have to pay for the rates, taxes, water and lights for the homes. And these parents will each have to be paid a stipend because they actually will be doing a full-time job running, each running their own home. And seeing to it that the children have what is necessary. Um, and I do believe that once a child reaches a certain age, they should be given pocket money. This can be done by giving them certain little jobs to do around the house and in the garden, and then rewarding them accordingly. And it can be even from the youngest of the children, they can be given little jobs and receive a little bit of money, pocket money. But this is where I need fiat money. I can't give a child a TBC and say, here you are, here's TBC money, you can go and buy it. Unless, of course, we can, by that time, buy everything with TBC, which would be absolutely fantastic. Um, but I don't know if that would be possible. Now, the other problem is um, I could go on and on about all this, but there has to also be some sort of control over the whole economic structure that's involved. I mean, it's a huge, big organization that I'm looking at. I'm thinking of, admin. This started with admin with just a little thought. And now it's a worldwide organization. Well, this at the moment is just a thought, like TBC was a thought in admin's mind. This is just a thought in my mind. Now, I've got to be realistic. I don't mind telling you, I'm 83 now. And, just as a joke, some say after 70, you're living on borrowed time. Well, be that as it may. I really don't no. But when I go one day, there will have to be a very reliable organization that will be able to handle the finances and see to it that all the groups of homes are properly catered for. That will mean that the money for them to be able to live on must always be available for the parents to be able to run their home, pay for the children's education and such like. If necessary, even send a child to university if that child shows any promise. I honestly would welcome any suggestions and ideas that can be offered about this project. Um, at the moment, like as I said, I'll be welcome, and I'd especially ask the TBCians from South Africa who know the situation um, to give me your thoughts and ideas about what should be done. Um, as you can well imagine, this project will take a huge amount of money. So I really want to thank TBC at this stage for what they are doing. Because without TBC, I couldn't even have dreamt of something like this. But I believe so firmly in TBC, and that one day, when we reach our ultimate goal, we will have money. And it would mean so much to me to be able to house children and help these children uh, to grow up into decent people where they can get all the opportunities that they need. Um, just like when I was nursing, where I love my patients, I think I will just love these children. And I firmly believe that TBC will always be there for me, and but not only for me, for all of us. And I want to say thank you, TBC, for what you've done. Now, I really would certainly want to emphasize, I would love some comment about this and find out what suggestions anybody could give me. And I'm quite honest, if somebody thinks that, oh, this is just pie in the sky, Sheila, you'll never be able to do that, blah, 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 I will be able to do it. But please don't be afraid of saying so. I'd like honest comments about all this. So, and I certainly won't be offended by anything that is said about it. Um, so, thank you very much for TBC again. And I will end I see my time is all but up. So I will end my broadcast. Yeah. Thank you so much, TBC, all over again. Thank you. Bye.